Hey guys, Jason here and welcome along to another 5-minute lesson. Today I want to talk to you about capital growth. Hey, it's the thing that we all want our properties to do. When we buy them, we want them to grow in value and we're excited and we're happy and so on. But hey, listen, I want today to go through a strategy conversation about capital growth and what do you use it for? Now, here's the thing. Just because your properties grow in value doesn't mean you've succeeded yet. You've got to make sure you end up getting to your goal. Remember, I've done a video on this before, the 3 stages of investing. The acquisition stage, us buying as many properties that we need to achieve our goals. The time consolidation stage, the time it takes us to own these properties and keep them. It's an important thing. A lot of people can buy and acquire, but unfortunately, most people don't go the distance. They fall along the wayside to some challenges or issues they didn't plan properly for in this consolidation stage, and ultimately reach the lifestyle stage where the assets that we own create income, put money in our pocket, we're happy and so on. Now let's just go through this. So I just want to talk about capital growth. Today there's 4 things that you should do with capital growth when it occurs in your property portfolio or your properties. I've got a little, four investments there. What should you do when those properties grow? At what stage in the cycle? Let's go through this. The first thing, the most important thing for all of us is we only have a finite amount of money that we can put into a property. So let's say as a deposit, we have $100,000 and we put it into a property. Well, the first thing we want the property to do when it grows in value is recycle our deposit. Give our deposit back. If we put it into that property there, we need to give it back to us so we can put it into the next property. Recycle the deposit. Number 1 thing you must do is recycle your deposits continuously so you can buy the next property. For most of us, we don't have enough money saved. We can't save that fast. The property must grow in value. Over, let's say, a 3 to 5 year period is optimal. Sooner is better, but it's really unlikely you'll get instant growth in most cases, unless you're doing some add value. I'm just talking about market here. Recycle the deposit, give it back, buy another one. So what happens is we buy our first, our second, our third, our 4th property, and that should be over a 7 maybe to 10 year period, 7 to 10 year period, as soon as possible in the acquisition, the buying stage of our investing. Recycle the deposit. Okay, next part in equity growth, and we must do this as we go along and make sure we have a safety buffer in place. For every single property, there should be a safety buffer, an emergency fund. I always like to say for my investing, there should be $10,000 per property as emergency cash, so you don't have to take any money out of your pocket, sitting on each property or available for each property just in case some issues happen. That must come from the growth. It must come from the income and tax deductions you get. It must not come out of your weekly, fortnightly pay packet. The property must pay for itself. A safety buffer, recycle the deposit, get another one, leave a safety buffer behind, minimum 10 grand. Sometimes people skate with 5, but I like 10 per property is the minimum that I require. Then what? Well, we've done our recycling deposit. We've purchased a number of properties. We've got our safety buffers in place. We feel good. Our cash flow's fine. Our portfolio is in place. We've diversified. We've bought in a number of different cities, etc. We're happy with our acquisition. We are happy to keep these properties forever. Okay? That's the acquisition stage. Recycling the deposit, making sure we have safety buffers in place. What happens in the next stage is this thing. Sometimes we might have to renovate our properties. Just because we did it at the start doesn't mean it's not going to be needed again and again. Probably 3 to 4 times, if you're going to own properties for 20 years, you will need to renovate in a reasonable way to make sure your income, your cash flow stays up with the market. If you have an old property and new properties come on the market in your local area, you are going to be disadvantaged. Either they will rent sooner or for more, or both, and your property will start to fall behind. The value might continue, but your rental income will decrease as a percentage. It is important to renovate your property. We've got our safety buffer. Let's give ourselves a tick. Renovate your property as you go to keep it up to speed with the market, and that's usually every 7 to 10 years, okay? Renovate the property. Reno, keep our cash flow going, okay? This is the consolidation stage. This is the stage we've got to keep our properties. We might sometimes, we might add extra value. Often people will buy a property that they might be able to subdivide, put a granny flat in, knock down and rebuild, something like that. That happens in the consolidation stage. Once you have enough equity or growth in the property for the property to fund itself for the add value. Acquire, consolidate, add value, reno, cash flow, get the reno, add value up. Last but not least, which helps us in the last stage, which is we want to get our income up and we want to get our debts down in the consolidation phase. The capital growth, then what we do is we use capital growth to magnify our income. And this is really sort of the special sauce when it comes to taking a bit of money from each of these properties. Let's say we're 7 to 10 years in. Let's say this is 7 to 15 years in. And each of these investment properties, we were able to get $50,000 out of those properties after they've taken care of themselves here, and we've got our buffer set in place. $50,000, $200,000. Let's say you get a 5% interest on $200,000. We invest it in a magnification investment for income to get 15 to 20% income in this stage. That's the little good tick in the box. Your equity sitting there in this now has become lazy. What happens for a lot of investors is we can't borrow to buy another property because we run out of capacity to service, but you might have between $100,000 and $200,000 of accessible equity on top of your buffers that you now need to put into magnification income. And that is something that really turbo blasts this last stage, which smashes the debts down, cranks up the income, and gets you set up for the lifestyle, cash flow stage of investing. So there you go, guys. 4 things you must understand to do with capital growth. Now, in there, nowhere did I say go on a holiday, pay for a new car, anything. The properties must be left alone. If you want to get wealth out of real estate, stop stuffing around with your properties, buy them, keep them, do the strategy, be prepared to invest for 7 to 15 years minimum. You'll get an amazing outcome. You mess with it, it won't work. All right, that's it. That's it from me. 5-minute lesson, probably a bit longer than 5 minutes, but anyway, hopefully that was useful today. If you want more info like this, strategy conversations, you must get along to one of our nights around the country. We run them everywhere in Australia, and come and meet our coaches and meet some other investors who are following the strategy and getting results. If you want these sorts of results, I would love to see you at one of those nights. That's it from me. Take care and bye for now.